I just bought a bargain Range Rover SVR, but it's crashed. Like so many of these Range Rovers end up, we have a huge problem in the UK where these Range Rovers get stolen, and have you ever heard of the phrase, drive it like you stole it? But I don't think the damage looks too bad on this, and that's lucky, because usually after they're stolen, they're either never to be seen again, or a complete wreckage. This SVR ended up at Copart, and I won it at a bargain price. The damage didn't even look bad, and I was hoping I could rebuild it in 1 week, but it was going to be a lot harder than I thought.
Oh no.
Here it is, the Range Rover SVR, the bargain of the century. It could be, 2025 is the year of bargains. Look at that. The wing looks good, and it's had a small knock on the front end. There's one thing I've just noticed apart from the front end. It does say stolen and mould, but we need to get this off the trailer, and on the listing it did say that this car ran and drove, so we're going to put that to the test. I must have completely misread the listing because it says does not run, and it also never mentions anything about being stolen. Now I've got 2 keys with this car, which is very rare at auction. Kind of makes me think, was it stolen? The owner still had the 2 keys, and when they got the insurance claim he gave the 2 keys back to the insurance. So it's rare you have 2 keys. Now sometimes on a stolen Range Rover you'll see the bottom half of the dashboard ripped apart to access some wires, but this one looks fine, which is good. It doesn't look too bad. 5 litre supercharged, this thing. I think it's like 560 horsepower. It's going to be a beast. Whether it actually runs or not, we don't know. One thing we wanted to check before we jumped in and started it, if this car had any oil in it. But just like most new cars, they don't have a dipstick, which allows you to check that. The only reason it'd have no oil in it if an oil cooler's absolutely yeeted off the front. No, that's not an oil pipe. There's no like signs of like that oil is leaked, but like we don't know how long it's sat. The only way to check the oil is to actually start it. So we put a battery pack on and we're just gonna send it. Whoa, yes, the lights still work.
Yep.
Oh, SVR, 27,000 miles, this car. Right. Pyro fuse or not? We've got fuel, got coolant level low. Here we go. It started. It's running! Even though the auction said it didn't.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh. Oh.
But it wasn't running good.
Oh, it's struggling.
In fact, it was bad.
Yeah, it's struggling.
Oh! So they get it off the trailer.
Oh, it died.
It died.
Has it got low fuel?
No, it's got fuel.
Oh.
Oh no.
Can I reverse it back?
Yeah, crank it. Just give it a bit of gas.
It sounds okay there, doesn't it? Right, we're going back. The car did run and drive, but it struggled. Oh, it does not sound nice, does it? Oh, I've got a flashing engine light, flat tyre, coolant level low, washer fluid, headlight fault, coolant level low. That does not sound good. Oh, if we've got, I think that should be our first step, because this front end I think we can manage, and there is some more damage on top which I will show you. But if this engine don't run properly, then we've got a huge problem, and like this gone from a bargain to not a bargain. It could be anything. So let's get the Range Rover inside, where I could run some diagnostics on it and work out exactly why this engine is misfiring and sounds like it's rattling its head off.
What do you think of the Range Rover, Hannah?
Oh, I like having a Range Rover again. It's a nice colour.
It is a really nice spec, but it's no good if it doesn't run right. It's got the classic, all Range Rovers have it, the boot misalignment. No matter what you do to your boot, you can move it back up. Within a few months, that will not be aligned. What I'm looking for is the battery, because if the battery is really, really low, that could be a cause of the misfire. Where's the battery on it? There's meant to be a spare wheel in there. There's the battery. So what I'm going to do now is add another jumper pack to the battery in the boot. Right, got a jumper pack there, jumper pack there. I would be really intrigued to find out if it just runs better like that, and if it doesn't, then big problem. I've now got to plug the diagnostic reader in. Yeah, like it's actually really nice in here. And look, this seat is proper comfort. And wait to see what codes appear. And there was a fair few appearing, which we did expect after a crash. Driver frontal stage 1 deployment open circuit. Passenger frontal stage 1. So I'm guessing that's airbag here, airbag there. Second row left seatbelt pretensioner. Crash event storage, full and locked. These are all to do with the airbag system. And the Range Rover actually stores crash data on the airbag module. So at some point we will need to get that reset. Control module, improper shutdown, voltage related. Yeah, so again, that's all to do with battery. But a lot of these faults which have come up seem to be to do with low voltage. So could it be that it was running bad because of the battery? There's only one way to find out. Engine lights off. Engine lights gone. Now seems to be running okay.
Have we just got like well lucky and just put a charger on and it's fine?
How did it go from sounding terrible? Like it feels a bit rocky, but it's a V8, isn't it?
Yeah, massive one.
I've got no engine management light on anymore.
Sounds good.
It sounds good. So we need a battery.
Yeah, definitely.
We need 100%. We need a battery. We've got a bit of coolant on the floor. That seems good. It runs good. It seems okay. How long for? I don't know. I think we need to strip off the front, see how far back this damage goes, because at the minute it doesn't look like too bad. We have got damage to this chassis leg here, but this is a bolt off part. So luckily the engine seems okay for now, but what I was going to do before we started stripping the front end was send the car in the air to see if there was any damage underneath it. Right, what's the damage? What's the damage underneath? Have we got away with an absolute bargain here? So it looks like this bar here, that's taken a bit of a hit. It says category N, which means non-structural, so really shouldn't have too much under here. We first thought that some of the suspension arms were bent, but looking at this side and then looking at the other side, it seems that's how they're meant to be. And looking further underneath the car, everything was looking all right. Air suspension looks good.
A bit dirty though, isn't it? It's all
It's really dirty, isn't it? Yeah, like, but that's what it's built for. Like, everything looks dry under here. Oh my God. Are we doing too well at the minute? There's no damage that we didn't expect underneath, which is good. Which means we can start stripping this thing down, starting with the bonnet. And I don't expect this to be cheap. The SVR is the only Range Rover with a full carbon fibre bonnet. And this one is completely toast. So we're removing all the electrics from it, like the washer jets, then unbolting the 2 bolts which hold it to the hinge, and me and Matt are going to lift it off. And that bonnet can go in the bin. Time to strip down the front end. 1 bolt held that on.
Was that it?
That was literally it that was holding that on. Everything that's broken needs to come off. Then we can make a list of everything that we need to replace it with. It looks like this front slam panel holds all the radiators on, the crash bar, and a lot of the electrics for the front end. And once I got the bumper out of the way, it was fairly easy to access all the bolts, which removed that slam panel. And once they were all out, the only thing holding the slam panel and the radiators to the front end were the hoses, the electrical connections, and of course, there was a lot of them. So why buy this Range Rover SVR? Well, we're actually building this car for a purpose. And if you want to find that out, now's a great time to subscribe if you already haven't. Because we need to get this thing rebuilt in 1 week if this car is going to do what we've got planned for it. Once we've moved radiators out the way, we've found even more damage to the fan at the front of the engine. But before we look deeper into that, I now can move the radiator further back out the way so I can disconnect the hoses at the bottom and this other cooler here. After that, Matt's going to remove the slam panel out the way, whilst I've got the radiator. Now we can check the front. Right, front end is off, and we have got actually a little bit of damage here. This is the engine cooling fan. So I believe this is just on all the time with the engine. So the crank's spinning and that's spinning, and I think that's just cooling down the engine. And I think we might need a special tool to remove this. And then other than that, at the front, the legs, it seems like the damage stopped here, apart from that. But we've got some damage to the intake pipe here. Seems to have broken off. Other than that, it's okay. It's just like a little hose here at the front, that's broken. I assume that goes to that side. We're gonna need a full rad pack, some few hoses, few wiring plugs, and we're okay. It is filthy. I don't know how it's got so dirty. I don't know whether it's been in a ditch or something. So actually, we're not looking too bad here, but we've only inspected the outside. Now, we need to see the damage on the inside, which is mainly caused by airbags going off, we think. Damaged windscreen. Airbag. That's probably what damaged the windscreen. Airbag. Curtain airbag's good though. Oh, we've got mouldy seats. I imagine these seatbelts will have a fault. The seatbelts in the back locked out, Liam.
Very mouldy and locked out, yeah.
Yeah, locked out. So yeah, all the seatbelts we got. Good news, we've got part of the door, which is actually a good find. Because if I'd had to buy one of these, I would have had to have it painted as well. So it's good we've got this. First fix, coming up. We in? Yeah! Woo! This car really needs a clean. Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. This guy is growing things in here. Airbags, a lot of people have put off because it means you have to remove the dashboard. But actually, I don't think it's that bad. I've said it now, but I don't think it's that bad. We just got to get the dashboard out, and then we could go from there. And then we could start replacing all of these airbags, which really, we need to strip the interior because, well, there's damage up here. But we'll get onto that. Let's get this interior stripped out. Let's go. It's always a good idea to get the seats out the way. That way we've got more room to move around the car when we're taking the dashboard out. I had to disconnect the seat belts from the seats first, undo the bolts which hold the rails to the car, go underneath the seat and disconnect the electrical connections, and then we can pull both seats out. And although the passenger seat is pretty mouldy, these seats are pretty nice. Next step, the steering wheel airbag. Poke the screwdriver up through the bottom. Yes. Oi, look at that. That releases a clip, and then you just push the airbag out.
Mechanic. So he's a mechanic.
He is a mechanic.
He is.
On the back side of the airbag, there's loads of electrical connections, and sometimes these melt when the airbag deploys, just because of all the heat that happens when the airbag explodes. But we've got lucky on this one. The connections seem all good. Bang! Oh! Now, it's time for the big one, the dashboard. Because that passenger airbag is blown out, it actually breaks a hole in the dashboard. Some companies would actually repair this, but as this dashboard isn't that expensive, we're just going to replace it.
How are you getting on, Liam?
Oh, see ya. It seems like we're going to have to move part of the centre console out of the way. Oh! That will help us access some bolts for the dashboard. Look what I found. Well, lunch is on us. Or, shall we say, lunch is on Mr. Lawrence. Now that me and Liam have removed part of the centre console out of the way, we should be able to start unbolting the screens out of the centre. First is the big screen which controls all your aircon, then is the infotainment screen which is above it. And we're almost there.
Oh yeah, there's one here, one there.
But it looks like there's a couple of tricky bolts left. That's out. Right, we're almost out. Multiple different bolts, look, none of the same. So that's going to be hard to work out where they go back. But we'll figure that when we cross that bridge, is that the saying?
Something like that.
But we think there's like a couple of bolts down here.
There's one there.
What are they?
One there. They go they go down. I think we're gonna have to take the windscreen out.
But Liam had other ideas. Oh my god! You imbecile! But smashing a hole in the screen seemed to work.
How would they do this in the factory?
Take the windscreen out, probably. Until we later found out, with a little bit of squeezing, you can actually get your tool between the windscreen and the dashboard to get those final 2 bolts out. And with them out,
Oh, look at that. Dash is out.
what a mish. Do you know at the start of that when I said people are put off by buying cars where dashboards are blown out because they're scared of changing them? Be scared.
Yeah,
That was
why.
horrendous. Look at the state of that. Left hand side. Right hand side. The dashboard is removed, but it doesn't stop there, unfortunately. There's still more we need to take out. We're on day 2 already, and this is our next issue we need to attack. We've not fixed anything as of yet, apart from that passenger door panel. But all of this, it seems like someone's hit it or something and smashed the glass at the back, but not at the front. But not only that, it's put a nasty dent in the back of the roof here. But to fix this and actually try and work out how we get this out, we've got to strip most of the interior to get to it. So it's another stripping down job. But whilst we're doing that, we should be able to get the seat belts out, and the seat belts we can send off to the airbag team to all be reset. So let's continue the stripping. As Liam's demonstrating, the seat belts are completely locked out. That's because where the airbags deploy in a car, there's also an explosive in the belts, which deploys, which in turn pulls the seatbelt tight, pulling the driver and the passengers back into the seat so they're in a safe position when the airbags are deployed. Now, if you don't put new explosives in the seatbelts, then you'll always have an airbag fault on the dash, and the seatbelts won't work properly again. So we've got to remove all the belts out of the car and send them off to the airbag team who can reset and put new explosives in them. I've got out the front driver's side already.
Number 2 seatbelt.
And Liam's got out the passenger side at the front. You can see how big the thing is here. And now that we've got the front belts out, we've got to get these rear mouldy belts out. And to access them, we've got to remove the rear seats. Off comes the bottom bench first, then we can get to the bolts which hold the top part of the seat in. And it was pretty disgusting under them seats. Now we can access the bolt, anchoring the bottom of the seat belt to the frame of the car, undo that. And then to get to the rear belts, there's a lot of the rear trim we need to remove. There's one bolt holding the rear seat belts in, and with that removed, we should be able to pull them out from underneath. Yes. And there it is. All 4 seat belts out, and one interior stripped to pieces. Right, we've still got the roof lining to get off inside the interior to get to that panoramic roof. So me and Liam are going to carry on in there. In the meantime, we've got all these plugs which are damaged, but the plug, the other side of the plug is still in the radiator. So we've got our friend Dips.
Hello!
The magic electrician guy who loves doing all this stuff because my dad is ill as well, and he likes doing electric. I don't think he likes it, we just make him do it. So Dips is going to repin these wires, fix this wire over here, and then hopefully fix this one here, which is just for the camera. So all the wires are going to be fixed to the front, and me and Liam are going to go inside and start stripping the roof lining. Let's go! Now, one roof lining to strip out and the wires to repair. First, Dips is going to take out the pin where the wire is stripped out from. Once he's got that pin out, he's got a tiny bit of wire left on it, which he can strip down and then go back to the wiring loom and strip the wire down and attach that wire back onto the pin. First, he's twisted it on, then he's going to get a soldering iron and solder it back together. Once the solder is set, he's going to slide over a bit of heat shrink over the repair and heat that up so no water can get in there. Then he can simply slide the pin back into the plug and make sure it's nice and secure. An easy fix for Dips. And whilst he's doing that, me and Liam are on the inside stripping out the entire roof lining.
Right, so next one, we've done this plug. Next one is this plug here. As you can see, the pin's still inside there. So what we need to do is extract the pin first and then connect it back onto that wiring and then plug it all back together.
So Dips is at it again, and in the meantime, me and Liam have now got out the roof lining. And that's all the plugs repaired on the front and the roof lining out, ready for us to take the glass out. It is stress right now. There's an SVR in pieces with no idea of how it goes back together, but we might just be able to start putting things back together because Liam has just turned up with some parts for us. Bring us a dashboard in, Liam.
One dashboard. Slight problem though.
What's that? It's not got a heads-up display. Oh, well, I think we can swap it. Oh, can we? Can we swap it? So the dashboard Liam's got has got no heads-up display. You can see the hole for it on the old dashboard here, but we're hoping that we can just swap over that little hood piece of the dash to change it. Yes, that's one hood look with a hole in it for the heads-up display. Now we've got to remove the hood off the new dashboard to see if it's interchangeable. Oh, guys, it's a problem. But it's not looking good. You can see the new dashboard here, it's got way less of a hole than our dashboard. And we don't fancy chopping into that new one. Yeah. Not good. Liam, it's like you're going back. And now, we had to go back and replace our heads-up display, a non-heads-up display dash for a heads-up display dash. Luckily, he swapped it light for light. It's got a few little creases and marks in it, so we need to clean this all up. But all of this will come out. We're going to change the hood on this one because it's a bit battered compared to our one. And also, we're going to change the module for the heads-up display as well, just to make sure that everything works, because we know ours will work. We don't know what this one's come out of and how old it is. So let's switch this all over and let's get this dash in the car. Come on, let's go. Liam's taken out the heads-up display out of the old dashboard and he's now putting it in our new dashboard. After that, I'm using the hood lever of our old dashboard and I'm attaching it to our new one. It just looks a little less damaged than the one we've just bought. Of course, with this second-hand dashboard, we do have the new airbag underneath it. That's the whole reason why we're changing it. And now, both me and Liam have just got to lift it into the car and remember exactly where every single nut and bolt just went that we've removed. Quite a time-consuming job, but when you've not long taken the dash out, it's a lot easier to remember to put it back in. The dashboard is finally in, but we're not fully got him just yet because we've left this center console just out at the minute, because underneath here is the computer for all the airbag. It's like the airbag module, and to cancel off all the crash data so the car recognises it's not been in a crash anymore, we're wondering whether we can do it with the OBD or it might require that computer to come out. But in the meantime, whilst we wait for Dips to come and see if he can do that, we've got an airbag. Think we're in, and the whole dash is in. We've finally fixed something. Woo! And that's one of the hardest jobs complete. Well, at least we thought. Dips is back again now, plugging in his computer, because on the Range Rovers, normally on a normal car, you plug all the airbags in, you clear the codes, and the airbag light disappears. But on the Range Rovers, you could do all of that, but the airbag light will still be there because the module for the airbags senses that there's been a crash, so it needs to be reset. We're just trying to figure out now whether Dips can do it from plugging in there, or we have to take that whole center console out to get the module out to do it.
What we're going to do first is we're going to try and clear it. Because the airbag module has stored data on it, it might not clear, but
okay,
we're going to try that first. So
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Are you hacking the system?
You could call it that.
He's hacking the system. And we're about to find out whether we need to take the center console out to get to that module.
Module out.
Oh my god. So me and Dips started disassembling the center console to try and find where that module was, because we need to get it out so we can manually reset it. Me and Dips have found the module there, just like a Porsche Pyro fuse. So if we get these 10 mils, it's actually bolted to the chassis because I think it has that yaw sensor in it. So if the car's gone upside down and rolled, then it would know. It's bolted to the chassis.
Why do all these companies put these things in the most stupid places?
Anti-DIY. The newer the car, the harder it gets to work on. The harder it is to work on, the more likely they like to write it off. If they write it off, people go buying electric cars rather than the 5 litre supercharged V8, which is what you should drive. It's true. All of these modules that we have to change or take out take longer to get to, which means more labour costs. and more labour costs adds to the repair bill at the end. And the higher the repair bill is, the more likely the insurance are to write these cars off, which is why so many get written off for what looks like small damage.
Yes. Restraint control module.
Now we've got this module out, Dips is going to take it home and he can manually reset it. But more on that later, because that module turns out to be quite important. For now, screensaver are here to fit up my new windscreen that I've got for the Range Rover. We've got to remove the scuttle panel, which means taking the wiper blades off, and then the screensaver guys are going to pop inside, remove all the sensors from the old windscreen, and then use their wire to cut out the old glass. Once they've cut that out, they can remove it, prime the area where the new windscreen's going to go into place, and then add the sealant. Now that the sealant's down, the new windscreen can go into place. And whilst the guys were there, they can remove the broken glass on the rear of that roof panel, because once that's out, it's going to give us a lot more access to that dent on the roof panel. But before that, my attention goes back onto the front end. Right, we're in a predicament. New screen is in, that's good. Pan roof is out, we need to try and work out how we're going to fix that dent. Center console is out, the SRS module has been sent off, so we are stuck, and the only thing we can do right now is start fixing this front end. We've got a broken air filter, and I think once we get this out, we'll be able to take off this Biscoff fan, because this is broken. I think it's called a Viscoff, but it sounds better as a Biscoff. So I'm going to take this off first, and hopefully that's going to allow us to access the Biscoff. It's actually called a viscous fan, but to get to it, first I've got to remove all these intake pipes, which will all need to be replaced. Now we can access it. These are the tools to take off the Biscoff fan. So this goes around the puller. The viscous fan actually rotates all the time with the engine, which keeps the engine constantly cool. But you only really tend to find this on older cars. And to get it off, we've got to loosen this nut here. And if we just turn that nut, then the whole pulley will spin round with it. So that's why I've got one locking tool holding the pulley, and the other one's a big spanner used to rotate that nut off. But this thing was extremely tight. We tried everything. We even questioned whether we was doing it the right way. And looking online, apparently a lot of people struggle with the same thing. This thing is so tight, we're having to go for an air chisel. What they tend to use is an air chisel to get it off. Which still wasn't working.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
We tried heat and the air chisel again, but still it wasn't budging. We questioned whether the impact of the crash had actually knocked it on harder or something along those lines, but nothing could explain how tight this was. In the end, we ended up drilling through the nut to try and release the tension. And that actually seemed to work.
Yeah,
yes. That's loose. Oh my God. Never change one of these fans. If that fan goes on your SVR, sell it. And whilst we was working away at getting that off, the guys from the body shop arrived. Because this dent in the roof at the back wasn't going to fix itself. More hammering was needed. The guys' plan here was to knock the dent out as best they could to try and get back the shape of the roof. And after that, they'd have to do a lot of body work to perfect it. They could work the dent to get it as best as they could, but because aluminium's really thin and doesn't bend well, it did end up cracking and causing a few holes, but there's nothing that we can't get re-welded back up. There's literally no reason for it to be that tight. Well, it finally got off. That is insanely tight. We was actually expecting to see some damage on the pulley, but it was completely fine. It's only held on with a few threads. New fan, let's get this on. Hopefully we never have to change this because this was very tight. This is righty-tighty, not lefty-loosey or lefty-tighty. New fan, new fan, new fan, new fan, new fan, new fan. Do you have the right size for this? It was the right size till we whacked it and it opened it up. Fan on. We've got a broken hose at the bottom here, which I need to replace. We've got that. Now, we can finally start putting the front end together. Firstly, by taking off the bottom broken hose and replacing it with a brand new one. The parts cost and the cost of the car, I'll explain at the end of the video. But so far, we're looking really good. Liam went and picked us up a second-hand radiator. Just picked up a full front end to the SVR. The guys are back in the workshop stripping it as we speak, but we do have one slight issue. The new panels, the bonnet and the bumper, they're white. So we're going to go drop these down now to the body shop where they can spray them and get them back to us in that nice blue colour. And now we can fit that to the front of the car. Making sure we connect up the hoses at the bottom, the electrical connections, the lines for the aircon, and some of the oil cooling lines as well. Finally, the front end's coming together. In comes our second-hand slam panel. Now I'm connecting up the bonnet cable, and once that's connected, I wanted to make sure it actually worked. We've made the mistake before where we've shut the bonnet and the bonnet cable wasn't working properly, and then it's a full issue of trying to open it again. Okay, I'll go pull the bonnet latch.
Ready? Yeah!
Now we can confirm that that works. Liam's connected up all the electrical connections for the radiators, the fans, and the horn at the front. And now I'm putting in the bolt for the front crash bar. And the fact that all the bolts do line up in the front crash bar shows the chassis legs haven't moved at all, which was expected. And that is the rad pack and the full slam panel on. On to the next step. Big moment, second-hand headlights from the front end off another car. We're hoping that these work. I'm pretty sure they are the same part number. Come on. One in. Time for the other one. This is always a nerve-wracking moment. Headlights are so expensive to replace on these newer cars, and we've found out it only takes one difference for them not to work. Oh, I can see light, I can see light, I can see light. Yes! It seems to be working. Oh. Even though it is the same part number, it's still just that sense of relief. We've learnt now, change part number, the same part number for the same part number. Don't take the risk. And that seems, I'm just going to check the hazards, but it seems to have worked. Yes. Oh, it swoops as well, look. Doing the swooping. Next step, let's get all these induction pipes on and everything all sealed up here. That means then we can add oil, coolant, and start adding the rest of the body parts. Fingers crossed. Now we can start adding back the plastic induction pipes. Again, which I managed to grab second hand. Once we put in the plastic induction pipes, me and Liam can put back in the scuttle panel with the wiper blades, bolt them into place, and pop in all the clips holding the scuttle panel down. And finally, time to top back up the coolant. Now we can lift the car in the air. Okay, because we can't start the car yet, we're having an issue with the front bumper, which we'll explain. And we also need to change the arch lining, but we haven't got the locking wheel nut. So that's another challenge that we need to get to. But we thought, we've just added coolant. We might as well give this car a service because we don't know how long this oil has been in there. We don't want to risk anything. But we've got to take this under tray off to get to the bottom of the sump. Go. Send it. Now, I reckon that is a 13 mil. We'll drain that oil out, and whilst that's draining out, we can replenish ourselves with our meal for the day, which is going to be out of the Y food fridge. Let's go! Happy banana for me. It's always a good idea to service these cars that we get from auction, as we just never know what they've been treated like, especially as this one was previously stolen. It probably wasn't drove lightly. After Liam's drained all the oil out, it could put the sump plug back in place and start putting the under tray back on. Now, Y Food is a perfect meal replacement drink. It's not a protein shake, it's not a diet drink. It simply just replaces one meal throughout the day. The SVR takes about 7.5 to 8 litres of 0W20. Liam's gonna start filling. There is no dipstick for the car to tell you how much has actually gone in. You have to start the car for it to tell you, which is insanely stupid. So Liam's gonna start filling that now. Now inside the Y food, there's 26 vitamins and minerals. They're high in fibre, high in protein, they're lactose free, they're gluten free, and there's no added sugar. It gives you everything your body needs to replace that meal during the day. Now whilst Leon was topping up the oil, I went ahead and changed the oil filter, which was nice and easy to access, right on top. Someone actually commented in the last video saying, Matt, your fridge isn't on. Well, with Y food, it's good because you don't actually need to refrigerate them. It's just something I like to do because it's nice to keep them nice and cold. Unfortunately, I have to share a plug with a bench grinder and something like that. But luckily, they don't go off because they've got a massive shelf life and they're perfect for your packed lunch because you don't have to have them refrigerated. On top of that, there's loads of different flavors to choose from. Oil's in, oil filters in, coolant's in. Next up, there's this reservoir here, which you think, on this cap you can see here, it's got like a little Range Rover logo with it rolling left or right. This is actually for the anti-roll bar system on the Range Rover. And when you normally drain these all out, you're meant to bleed the anti-roll bars because they're filled with hydraulic fluid. But because we're only taking the fluid out from the top and the little cooler at the front, we shouldn't need to bleed it because there shouldn't be any air at the bottom of the system. All the air should come to the top. You're filling this up with hydraulic fluid, power steering fluid. And once that's topped up, we move on to our next problem. We need to change the arch linings because they're broken. But we can't get the wheels off because there's a locking wheel nut and we don't have the key to get it off. First step is to try and find a socket which just fits over the locking wheel nut. A 23mm seemed to do it. Then I was just gonna hammer the absolute hell out of it to try and get that 23mm to sit over the top of the locking nut. And it looks like it was gripping it, just enough to turn it off.
Come on.
It did it! Yeah! Now that we got that locking nut off, I can send the car back in the air, remove the wheel, take off the old arch lining, fit the second-hand arch lining, which I admit, yes, it does need a clean, which we'll get onto, put back on the wheel, tighten it up, and lower it all back down. So if you want to start feeling healthier this year and replace your fast food with some Y food, you can do with a link in the description box below to get a taster pack to find your favourite flavour. Honestly, you won't regret it. There's also a discount code which is on the screen now as well. On to the next step. Now, whilst we've been doing all of this, the body shop have had our complete front end, which was white, that we got from the breaker's yard, and they've been painting it blue to match it up to the rest of the car. But this isn't your usual bonnet. In this centre, it has exposed carbon fibre. So the guys at Allied Automotive have had to mask off the carbon fibre perfectly whilst they paint the edges body colour, then peel off the masking tape, and after that, clear coat the whole bonnet so you can feel no lip between the carbon and the blue colour. What a job they've done. Shortly after, we fitted it to the Range Rover. And bearing in mind they didn't have the car to blend it into, it's a perfect match. Although the bonnet is way cleaner than the rest of the car at the minute. Next up, I'm starting to prep the roof ready for welding. After the body shop knocked back the roof into its rough position, there was a few holes in it. So I've got to get rid of the paint around those holes. Then Bob from the machine shop could come up and TIG weld it. Welding aluminium is pretty tough. It's hard to get right. And you can see how thin the roof is, the way it's just warping around as he's welding it. Bob's welded up this, but as you can see, it's kind of like lifted the aluminium up.
Yes.
So
Creased it up like that.
do you think they'll pull that out?
If it was me, I'd tap all that down.
Yeah.
This is good and strong now. I'll flat that off, I'd tap that in.
Yeah.
And then fillerize it.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how the body shop start tackling this. As always, Bob is on YouTube with his own YouTube channel, The Machine Shop, which is a link is on screen. If you want to learn how to weld, you can learn how to weld with Bob himself. It is only you, innit?
Yeah, it's just me, yeah.
Let's now go to the body shop. But before we can get the car to the body shop, we've got to be able to move it. And the car won't turn on if it doesn't have this airbag module plugged into it. So right now, Dips is taking apart the module. Then he's got to use his tool to plug into the specific pins on the module so he can talk to it. This is the only way to clear the crash data that's on it. Once it's plugged in, his computer can now read it. And you can see at the bottom, crash event, storage full and locked. We need to unlock it.
Right, so what we're going to do now is clear the crash data. If you look at the second option there, it says clear crash by OBD. And if we look there, clear crash data okay. So I believe we are all done.
Now all he's got to do is put it all back together and bring it back to us at the unit to install.
Right.
That's cleared.
Yep, cleared all the crash data, so...
We've done all the airbags apart from the seat belts, but this needs to go to the body shop and we can't get a steering lock off and we think it's because of that, so we're just going to try it. Instead of putting it in position under the centre console, we were just going to plug it in here for now, just to see if the steering lock will come off. Yeah. Right, let's plug all this back in. See if the steering lock comes off. Here we go. No, it still doesn't come off. Steering column locked. Why would that be? Still the steering column was locked, but we were going to need to turn the wheel to get it on the trailer. So my only option now was to plug in my diagnostic tool to see if there was any faults showing us why the steering lock stayed on. And this is where disaster struck. Like, we've had it come off before, I'm sure we have. But I thought... Whoa! Hell! Oh my god! Oh my god! Whoa! Dude! Oh, that was on my head!
You okay?
The curtain airbags deployed.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
What the hell? What the hell has happened there? I have never had this happen before. Both side airbags completely blew for no reason.
so flipping loud.
I've never had that happen before. What the hell? Why has he done that? I've never had that happen before. That is like the scariest thing.
Dude, I don't even know what happened. I
Could
thought
you
it blew up.
Could you imagine if the passenger airbag went off and the driver's went on off, and it would have smashed his...
Why would it do that? Because the crash date is cleared. How does that make any sense?
Completely cleared.
Why would, that's like a side airbag though. That's like a side impact. We couldn't work out why that had just happened. We thought maybe there was a trapped wire or something shorted out. But it's like a signal. But that theory's stumped, because to set the airbags off, it's a signal wire. And it's only set 2 of them, not all of them off. It just wasn't making any sense. Well, what do we do now then?
Put the car in the bin.
Another theory was that the new crash sensors that I installed on the front, were they potentially damaged or had any cracks in them? Or was any of the wires broken there? That could have set them off.
Yeah, but it would have gone off straight away though. Because you were in it.
It would have gone off straight away. That something has told them to go off. I think that module was told them to go off for some reason. Seems so weird. I then went back to the diagnostic tool, but this time outside the car just in case. And then it clicked. Oh! Do you know why? Do you know what it is? I know what it is. That module, airbag module, is a yaw sensor as well. We've plugged it in on the side.
And then turned it on.
It thinks it's rolled. No. It's meant to be bolted to the chassis in the middle of the car, and we've plugged it in and done
then
that.
now it thinks it's flipped out.
Oh my god.
Remember earlier in the video where I said this? It's actually bolted to the chassis because I think it has that yaw sensor in it. So if the car's gone upside down and rolled, then it would know. A yaw sensor is usually bolted in the middle and at the lowest point of the car. And what this does is communicate with the rest of the car to tell it what position it's in. It even works with the ABS. There's a frame which moves around left to right, up and down, side to side, detecting what position the car's at. If the car goes upside down, the yaw sensor will know about it, and it will send a signal to the side airbags to protect you when you roll. Now remember, we plugged in the airbag module loosely on the side, and when the airbags deployed, I was sitting in the car with the ignition on whilst the fault codes are reading. And if you look just here, I move my arm down behind the sensor console and pick up the airbag module and actually flip it upside down to see if it was plugged in. And at that moment, it went wrong. Look, here's the sensor here.
Yes.
If you throw that round,
He's hiding behind the door.
so basically don't throw this around. This has got to be bolted to the chassis, then plugged in. So what we're going to try and do now is put it back where it was, which was what we was attempting, anyway.
We've got to clear the codes first. Got to give it to Dips.
No, we're going to try and see if we can get the steering lock off.
Okay, so we're gonna put it on.
And then get it to the body shop, and then Dips can clear it, and then we kill two birds with one stone. Now the airbag module will have more crash data stored on it, so we'll have to give it to Dips to clear it off again. But in the meantime, I'm going to bolt it back on the chassis. 2 in. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. So we can move the car. But it still didn't bring the steering lock off. So we decided to push the roof lining back in the car and plug that in to see if that brought the steering lock off for some reason. Steering lock?
No.
No steering lock. Steering column locked. But it didn't work. Actually, what it turned out to be was that the boot lid wasn't on or connected. Once we connected that, the steering lock came off and we could get it to the body shop. The SVR is back from the body shop and the roof has been repaired. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's brand new.
Yeah, no dents in there anymore. Yes. Okay, no dents. Now we can put the screen in and put the full interior back in, and hopefully we get no explosions again. Right, round 2. We've now got to replace the curtain airbags. Dips has got to clear the crash data on the airbag module again, and we've got to get that roof glass fitted. First step, removing the deployed curtain airbags. These are just bolted to the frame of the car, and there's one 2-pin connector that needs to be unplugged before you remove it. Finished! Airbags out. This one is my enemy. We had a fight. And in come the new airbags, which I managed to get for £60 off eBay for the pair. So luckily it wasn't too expensive of a mistake. Bolt these into place and plug back in that electrical connector. Airbags in. We're back to where we were. Now, I think we can put the seatbelts in at least. And the seatbelts have arrived back from the airbag team in a different colour. I wanted them to match the exterior of the car. New seatbelts have arrived and we've gone for blue. We've just got to install these the exact same way that we took them out. Sliding in the rears from underneath, tightening up the one bolt that holds them in, and then doing the same on the front. Plugging in the 2-pin airbag connector, sliding it in place, tightening down all the bolts, then guiding the seatbelt up the pillar. And that's as far as we can get before we put the seats in. The guys at Screensaver told us that we're alright to put the roof lining back in because it isn't going to obstruct them in any way when they're fitting the roof glass, which we're still waiting to arrive. So me and Liam are cracking on and getting that in and then putting the rest of the interior back together. So far, everything was going well. Once this interior's in, we've literally only got the front bumper to put on and the car should be rebuilt. But you guys will see, we had another very big hiccup later.
Table for a minute.
There we go, that clip.
That went in. The seats, the back seats are in. The roof lining is in. It's looking good, but now we're at that big moment. The big moment before where it blew up on my head. So what we're going to do now is be very, very gentle and delicate with this module, and Dips is going to put it in. He's gonna...
I'm ready!
Don't rock that!
I'm ready!
Don't rock it! We've got the battery disconnected and we're going to go put it in. And what we've learned is that you put it in, you bolt it in, and then you plug it in. Go Dips. In goes the explosive device. Is that fully down?
Yeah.
Right.
Just gonna bolt it down.
10 mils.
Bang! Bolted.
Prop it in and bolted. Right. Now that the module's in place, we've got to slide back in the centre console and bolt it all down, making sure we connect up all the electrical connections and slide back all the trims back to how it was. We're almost there. Finally, left for the interior are the front seats. Get them in the car, connect up everything underneath the seats which make them work, tighten up the 2 bolts at the rear of the seats to hold it in the car, and then put the bolt in to hold the seat belt in. We won't be able to bolt the front of the railing until we have power to the car. But in the meantime, I could put in the driver's seat. We need to connect the battery to get to the front bolts in the seat. Now everything is plugged in, and this is round 2 of hopefully the airbag's not going off. I'm going to go connect that battery. Hopefully we'll move the seats back. We should have no faults apart from the front bumper being off. and it should start. We haven't had it started since we've done all that stuff on the front end, since we serviced it, since we put coolant in it, since we put oil in it. Let's go to the back. Connected.
It would be funny though if it were not for a second.
It wouldn't be funny.
It would be hilarious.
Yeah, who for? Good news. Seats are going back. We have committed. We put a lot in without testing whether we've plugged it in or not.
Are you ready, team?
We're ready, team.
Ready?
Ready?
Come on, press the button.
Right.
Ready?
So it's on the brake.
Ready?
Yeah.
Seems good. Seems smooth. It seems well smooth.
It's doing alright.
Any airbag light? No airbag light. No airbag light either.
Sounds good.
Everything seems good. And the only lights that are on the dashboard are ones that should clear out when we drive it, as they're all to do with the ABS. This is definitely worth subscribing for. How have we done that? Are these lights all on?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh my god, I'm so scared. I'm still nervous that the bag's gonna go off. Yeah! This was £1,000. Was it 1,000 just on its own or
£1,000 on its own. Second hand.
second hand?
Second hand as well, yeah.
No wonder someone stole this. One of the last pieces to go on the engine is the full carbon engine cover, which was missing when we got the car. Look at that!
Look.
A few of the fluids needed topping up as well, but the car was running good. I can't believe how smooth it sounds compared to what it was like when we first got it. It was like rattling. But then things took a turn for the worse.
Sounds well evil. Oh no.
Turn it off! No, turn it off!
What just happened?
Fan just exploded!
You're joking.
No! No!
Jesus, that went like so close to my face.
Oh, the fans blew up.
The fan
Oh
just
my
absolutely
God.
sent it. This is just disintegrated.
That's not good.
rad,
I don't think so, because there's no coolant coming out anywhere. There's no water.
My God.
What?
No, it's very bad.
What's happened? Belts.
Very bad.
Is it belts?
The whole pulley snapped off. But you know the pulley the fan's on? That's not on anything.
That's not good.
No way.
You see?
Oh my!
It snapped off the whole bracket.
Oh, you're joking.
Oh,
How does that happen just by revving it like that?
Yeah, that is bad. Yeah, I think you can.
This car has just been problem after problem.
This weren't looking good. So I had to start removing some of the intake pipes that I've just previously installed to see if we could get a better look. Hoping it could be fixed. 15 and 15. Oh no. Where does that even go? Oh my God. The viscous fan and the pulley has come off as one piece. And it seems the bracket, which holds the fan, has actually snapped off. It's got a huge crack in it, you can see here.
That whole thing is just disintegrated.
So right now I'm trying to unbolt the bracket, which bolts to the engine, and try and figure out how and why this has happened. Oh,
It's well warm. Look at that, it's just sheared in half. Oh, all in there. Wait, stop there. All that in there.
yeah. Oh, it snapped off the cylinder head.
You're joking.
No. Look, there's a hole in it. Oh my days. Oh my God. So that has toasted the engine.
It's put a hole in the cylinder.
In the cylinder head. There's that, which you'd think if it's just that, we'll be alright, because this is just a bolt on, bolt off part. It's all cast. It's got a pulley on here, roller pulley, tensioner. This is what the pulley for the viscous fan sits on. So that, if it was just that, you'd be alright. But that bracket bolts to the engine, and when the bracket's pulled off, it's pulled part of the engine with it as well. That's the block.
That's the block.
That's not off that. That would have gone. Look, this is the thread here, and that would have gone there. It was on this one.
This one there.
This there. That would have gone there.
And that's the inside of your
And
block.
that's pulled it out of the block. And that damage has completely wrote off the engine. Look at the hole in the cylinder block here. With a torch, you can see through into the timing chain. I have no idea how this has happened. There is an option that we could re-weld that part of the engine back onto the block, but how strong is it going to be? And would you ever trust it again? There's a chance it will just continue to leak oil, especially with the heat cycles this engine goes through. I've never seen anything like this before. I had to look back on the footage to check the damage to that viscous fan, and there's a chance that when it had the accident, it may have hit the fan so hard that it could have caused damage to that bracket. But on the footage, I couldn't really see much. There's another option that our hammering and chiseling to get it off could have caused this damage as well, but I can't see that being like there. There's probably a reason this fan was so tight, and it could have been from impact. Even after we got it off, you still can't see any damage to the bracket. I think what's caused that is impact first.
It could have been like stress fractures, and then we've made it worse.
Yeah, I think so. The fact we have to change the whole engine because of that is wild.
Well, there is a hole in it.
The annoying thing, we were doing so well. This SVR cost me £25,000 at auction, and a similar spec carbon edition, which is the same as ours, are selling for over £60,000. And so far, the front end cost me £9,000, the engine cover £1,000, viscous fan was £200, the airbag kit was £1,100, the curtain airbags was £60, and we still got the windscreen and the paint to pay for, which still brings us way under that £60,000 marker. But now it's looking like we might have to buy an engine. Well, sometimes it doesn't always go your way, and this is definitely one of them. And I think we paid the price. On the Rolls Royce, we got so lucky, and then on the next one, you get unlucky, and that is just life. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button. I certainly did enjoy it up to now. See you in the next video. Peace out.
That's how Tony does it. So like that. He always jumps